No, it sounds weird. It's like so. It's funny. It goes back to this. They use a voice very similar to this movie. It's called. Have you heard of it? Her,
Hers,
Her.
yeah.
Yeah,
A guy in love with computer. Yeah, I know the movie. I haven't
yeah.
seen it, but
So
I
yeah, so it's weird. Like the if you look at the demo, they've used the voice that's very similar to Scarlett Johansson, and it's weird how they do that. It's like yeah, this is gonna be a boom, a revolution for AI girlfriend boyfriend.
oh boy, here we go.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Unlisted Podcast, episode number 5. I'm your host, Sean Pham, the best teacher in the world, and this is Huey, uh, soon to have nickname in the future. Cool.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. Damn, man, I sound old then, man. When I think 2 decades is not that bad. Fuck me.
Yeah, like when you were going to school, when people would speak in terms of like 20 years ago, you think about like World War II, World War One, when Elizabeth I was still alive. But like well now 20 years ago is when you were 17. So for me, it feel that way as well. 20 years ago is when I'm already like conscious and all that. So, oh man,
Really?
it's tough.
Yeah.
20 years ago is after 2000 to remind you. So
Man, it feels like
in
a
my mind,
lifetime ago.
yeah, in my mind, when I say 20 years ago, I still, in the back of my mind, is that like the 80 or the 90? No, 20 years ago in 2004. So, oh my God, that makes us feel old, but that's how times work.
Yeah, but yeah,
Uh,
but real quick, like yeah, the people have been saying like you're talking about like the macro and like how they make all the poor people take all the flooding. Like some people said like because of the construction and development in District 7, that all that wetland that used to be like a buffer for all the flooding, now that it's gone, all of it goes to like District 1 and Bintan District. So it's not actually just going to the poor people, it's going to like the downtown rich people's place, you know?
uh, I mean, not really. Like even if you look at like D1 Bintan, the flooded part are typically like the worst off part of the neighborhood typically. So I like if you are doing something that flood the rich neighborhood, it's not gonna fly very well. The people are gonna do something about it, and it's gotta be hurt. Like if you're in the neighborhood, I don't imagine. So my whole district doesn't really flood at all. So
Hmm.
it's not a problem because it doesn't. It's kind of higher than the rest of the city,
Yeah.
so it doesn't have a problem. But like the moment you go downtown, down to at least like D3, 3, 1, 2, 5, 7 around that area, you can really
Hmm.
notice floods a lot. It's closer to the river. It's like go downward, but I digress. Not something that I have to worry about. I mean, knock on wood, because flooding is gonna be really destroying the neighborhood. Like every house in my neighborhood is like the house, the floor is like on the street level. So if it floods, then the water is gonna come directly into the house. You really don't want floods here, but people don't expect it to flood here. That's why every house is like on the same level, the street level, for better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like the first year I ever really turned on my AC on a normal basis. Maybe I'm getting old.
Well, you're gonna. A lot of people are doing that too, such as you. So, for me personally, I have to open the door during the daytime because I sometimes I
You
rip
fart?
I rip a smoke here and there, so I don't want to
um,
stink up my room. So I leave it open. The
um,
window in front of my face open, and the door behind my back is open, so you got some circulation going on.
do you
I
get
was on the
the
AC.
south north wind tunnel?
No, I don't have that. But it happens to be in the direction where it works that way. If you open both the window and the door, is there on the opposite side of the room.
Mm.
Air circulation goes pretty well. I noticed the air flowing significantly. I only turn on the AC around like 6 p.m. or so because that's when it gets dark and the bug starts to fly from my window. So I don't want to get
Right.
in. So I
Yeah.
close the window around 6 or 7 and then turn on the AC. That's when it's really on.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, but like if you're starting doing the AC on the regular basis, you're gonna start you're gonna start to notice the power bill hike next month,
Yeah. And
which is not
usually,
too bad.
yeah, right. Yeah. For me, like when I first came to Vietnam, like I was still like like strictly plant-based, and so yeah, like the body is it doesn't really get warm if you're not doing anything. So my electric bill was around 300,000. That's it. But then like depending, yeah, like the highest month I ever got was just like 1.5 million. But you know,
For one
I
person,
was living
that
alone.
is
Yeah.
a lot. So 1%, 1.5 is a
That
lot.
was that was the maximum ever. So
Yeah, and I've noticed like my bill has been going up as well because of the AC situation, but it's
mm.
not too bad because yeah, honestly, I don't know how it is compared to the other part of the world, but I feel like power is kind of cheap in Vietnam, right?
Yeah, no, definitely it's cheaper here. For real, dude.
Gas as well.
Uh, yo, but speaking no, speaking of the electric bill, like you know, I have a lot of relatives in Phoenix, Arizona, and it's
Mhm.
consistently over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what 40, give or take
100 is about 38,
38. Okay, so around 40.
which is
Yeah,
very hot, even in
yeah,
Vietnam, but at least in
yeah,
Phoenix, I imagine it's dry.
yeah, yeah. No, but they literally have to turn it on day and night, no matter what.
Okay.
And so
I can
I
see that, yeah.
remember the electric bill was like in the mid $100. So we're talking over 10 million easily. Right. And this was in the early 2000s. So you can consider inflation and whatnot. So it probably be over like 15 million Vietnam dong right now, just for the electric bill in Phoenix.
You know, we were talking about the discrepancy of the value of the fiat currency in different parts of the world
Mm.
once in a while, and it's kind of unfair because like if your currency worth more, you gotta pay more for the commodity as well. So it's kind of give and take. And
You mean the
like
opposite, right?
no. So no. I don't mean honest. So if your currency is worth more,
Mm-hmm.
then the commodity costs more as well. So you have to look at the whole picture, the net value of it all. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Keep going,
so
keep going.
so my hot take is that we've been measuring wealth in a way that are kind of a tiny little bit misleading.
Right.
Let's say if you're from, let's say, Switzerland, for example,
Okay.
right? And how much do you make a year after tax compared to, let's say, a country like the Philippines or Thailand or Vietnam,
Okay.
and then you compare the yearly income after tax. If you compare that way, it kind of looks a lot more lopsided toward a country like Switzerland and things like that because the currency worth more.
So you're comparing
However,
Switzerland to Manila. Is that what you're saying?
let's say Vietnam, for example,
Okay,
I don't want
Vietnam. All
to.
right.
So if you look at the net take home yearly, it's going to be way more in Switzerland, right? However, I'm not sure if that's entire the very accurate way to measure wealth being, because
Agreed.
at the end of the day,
Agreed. Yep.
at the end of the day, they have to pay more for commodity as well. They pay like €2 for beer. I think more. It
Mm-hmm.
was actually I was thinking about Germany at two euros a beer, but like in Sweden it's probably more.
Mm.
So I think the more accurate way to measure wealth being is by how much do you keep in your saving yearly after tax. That'd be a more accurate measure of what wealth being. So
Right. That's a good first step.
yeah. So let's say you bring home a certain amount, but because like the cost of living is so high, you only keep a very tiny amount like, after
Yeah.
everything.
Agreed.
So the reason I mentioned that is because, like, recently, out of curiosity, I was talking to another friend about how much you're supposed to have in terms of saving at a certain age to make sure that you are save in case of a major economic event. Let's say you lose a job, you get laid off, and then for 2 years you couldn't get a job. Like how long you can survive, right? And then I looked it up, and then I realized that on average, the amount of saving a person in their 30s, let's say when you're 30, when you're between 30 and 35 in America, the average saving a person have is like shockingly low to me.
It's like
I
negative
swear to God,
now.
yeah, I swear to God, every single person that I know around my age, like my coworker, my friends, even people back home in my
Hometown?
hometown, which is considered a very small town, right?
Yeah.
But I swear they all have more saving in their bank account than an average 30-year-old American right now.
Right. Yeah,
And
go ahead.
yeah, so that makes me wonder, are we measuring wealth being correctly? Because if you only measure the net take home yearly, then yeah, they take home more. But like at the end of the day, how much do they get to say? Like right now, if everything goes bankrupt and nobody has any job,
Right.
an average
So
30-year-old Vietnamese may have more money in their bank.
right. So I would consider there's a lot of metrics that you kind of like threw out there. So let's try to go through a couple of them. The first one would be I call it like runway. So your personal runway, right? So you're correct. Like it's basically at the end of the year how much saving you have. But yeah, that's one step. To get into more details, it's best to say like, hey, if you were to be unemployed or bankrupt or your small business just like folds today, how long
Yeah,
can you survive? That's to me
without an
is without any cash flow. That would be my consideration in terms of like economic absolute um, runway or savings or emergency fund, right? Because like
okay,
like I told my sister like okay, like I asked her like okay, you making over six figures, right? But you have a mortgage and you have like car payments and insurance and all these fees, and then like she told me like oh if she were ever to just like get fired out of the blue, she would have 3 to 6 months tops, even though she should have a lot more savings. You get what I'm saying? So that's more important
yeah,
time than some
and
nominal number.
that is fucked
Yeah,
because I pull it up real quick. Like the median savings account balance for all families in the U.S.
right.
is $8,000 in 2022.
Say that again. You broke up $800.
8,000.
Oh,
The
actually,
median savings
yeah.
account balance for all families in the U.S. is $8,000 in 2022. Only two
No,
years ago.
no, yeah, that's very generous. 2024, I think most people cannot like have they cannot cover a $400 emergency. Um,
Okay.
so the and 2022, that was just right after the stimu checks, when the government gave three
I'm
checks.
aware of that
Yeah,
situation. Yeah.
right. And so that's one part why the savings went up. But then everybody just went to the club, went to Miami, just splurge, doing stupid dumb stuff. So, I did it. I've done it too, but like, I understand, but net household savings has dropped a lot.
Okay, that is very low. Like even for Vietnam, like even like, most family, I guarantee they have more than $8,000 in their saving
Wow.
account in case of
Really?
a
Wow.
most. I think so. Like $800 is like what, like 200 million, right?
Mhm.
Like even like the average family have more than that in case of emergency. Like if somebody lose a job or like in a medical situation, they have more than 200 million to pull up in case they need it.
Mm.
So I think partly, I guess the income might be low, but like the cost of living here is also very very low. Like
Yeah.
power is next to nothing essentially, and gas is extremely cheap as well, and food is also very cheap. So
Yeah.
I think we need to yeah to use your standard a bit more. So if you lose your cash flow today, how long can you live
Right.
off of what you have?
Yep.
And right now, if
Okay.
we go up with that measure alone, Vietnam is doing much better than America.
Yeah.
America.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. No, I'm joking. That's why I keep telling people, like, okay, like it's people who have a warped idea of the West here. Uh,
Oh
They
yeah, totally.
like a lot of relatives like they think, oh yeah, we got to go to Canada, we should go to America because you could just be doing nails and you can make nearly 2,500 net, right, after taxes, and within a year, because it takes about 9 months to get your nail and manicure license. But yeah, okay, cool, okay, but you're gonna be working 7 days a week, at least 6.5 days a week, right? You're gonna will be working at least 10 hours in a service industry, right? You're gonna be smelling all that fume. It's like basically like paint, right? Yeah,
Especially that.
it's
Yeah, it's
terrible,
damage.
dude. Yeah, it damages everything. And then yeah, like you're gonna you're gonna have yeah, like normally it sounds good if you try to convert it to Vietnam down, but
Yeah.
if you look at the cost of living, inflation, and and everything else that you have to pay for, it's not a lot at all. And at least here, like Vietnam, there's a saying like it's just like, like if you're willing to work, you can have food, right? So people say like, oh, at least I can. Oh crap, it's raining. Let me get real quick. Let me get my laundry. What were we saying again? I forgot.
You're just talking about how we measure GDP nominally versus the purchase power of the currency. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like when people come over here and they bring in their dollars and they exchange it, and they're like, "Oh, I can buy a bowl of pho for how much is it about now? Like $2, right?" They think,
Dollars.
"Wow," compared to like $20 in the state. But you're comparing apples to oranges. But you know what? It is what it is. Hey, by the way, have you been looking in? Have you seen the new demo of OpenAI? It came out
No,
2 days ago. Nah, you should look at it, dude. It's ridiculous, man. Like you can straight up tell, like there's one demo where this is real time, right? Where like if I'm speaking to a Vietnamese person, I speak English, it real time outputs the Vietnamese, and when the
the
Vietnamese,
voice.
yeah, and when the Vietnamese person talks back, uh, it outputs it back in English, and they were just using one phone in the middle. So just right there, like a lot of dude, that's gonna kill a lot of like interpreter or like basic tourist, um at least bring down the level of value that a multilingual tourist would have, like a tour guide. It was ridiculous, man.
But do they
Yeah.
speak back to you? The translated text is spoken back to you in your own voice. Oh
In your
god
own
damn.
voice, in your own voice or in your own language?
Yeah.
Language you mean, right?
Both.
No, it wouldn't be your voice, right? So if you're a man, like I don't know if you can talk like a woman, but I'm saying like if you're Vietnamese, I'm American, right? I speak, hey,
Yeah.
how are you? The uh the AI will say, bạn có khỏe không? And then you say, vâng khỏe, and then the AI will says, yes, I'm fine.
But in which voice? When they speak it back to me in Vietnamese, do they speak back in your voice or in like a random TTS voice?
No, it sounds weird. It's like so. It's funny. It goes back to this. They use a voice very similar to this movie. It's called. Have you heard of it? Her,
Hers,
Her.
yeah.
Yeah,
The guy in the computer. Yeah, I know the movie. I haven't
yeah.
seen it, but
So yeah, so it's weird. Like if you look at the demo, they've used the voice that's very similar to Scarlett Johansson, and it's weird how they do that. It's like yeah, this is gonna be a boom, a revolution for AI girlfriend boyfriends.
oh boy, here we go. I don't love
Yeah.
that future, but it might be where we're going with that apparently.
You gotta embrace the future. Like it's it's wild, man. It's like it's here. It's
No, I'm not making any comment about whether or not it
mm,
become a thing. I feel like it's gonna become a thing. I'm embracing it. I'm just saying like I don't love that it's trending that way. I want like the humanity to trend toward the future where it's more human interaction, not less. So it seems like we're going to the direction where it's gonna be less. I just don't
yeah.
like that. But apparently it's going that way. So of course nobody can stop it. Like the way it's going. It's more and what I remember that is that like the way it's going, like interacting with a computer is become more and more appealing compared to the alternative, like interacting with like a real human. The real human are becoming like pretty awful in recent years. So interacting with a computer may become more appealing to a lot of people, not all. I'm still more of a people person, so I don't see myself doing that. But I can see why it's gonna be very appealing to a lot of people who don't enjoy interaction with real human, for better or worse.
Right. All right. Well, speaking of interacting with non-humans, the first thing on the docket is this person believes that he should not allow his child to use their smartphone until the age of 18. So he just goes on into about like there's other mechanisms such as computers, books that are alternatives to smartphone eras and social media eras. And yeah, like he just basically outright bans his kid from using it, says it's too risky. There's a lot of like nasty things on the web out there, and it's not safe. So you brought this topic up. What are your thoughts about this?
Wow, what a perfect segue.
You're welcome.
All right, just to be clear, I think 18 is a little bit too much. Like 16 is probably more reasonable. Like 18 without a smartphone is a bit much. Let's say 16. Personally, that's in line with what I've always been saying. I I feel like the existence of smartphone has always been like a very small portion of the entire human history, and it's bringing way too much change that we can comprehend. And it's been changing the way that kids interact and communicate and develop their social skill and their real life skill for all that matters in a very short period of time. And we just don't have enough of time proven data to see how much harm it can be done to children at that scale. So if anything, we're gonna see in 30 years, not now, because they're still like growing up like in the workforce and all that. I feel like we so let's say if you grow up in 1854 and you look back in 20 years, what changes? Nothing, pretty much. Right? So like people don't say things like back in my day in the 18th or 19th century, because back in your day it's gonna be the same shit.
Right.
But things has been moving very quickly. So
yeah,
when you look back
exponentially growth, right?
exponentially, yeah, when you look back like only 5 years, it's unrecognizable like what you have now compared to like 5 years ago. So it's really changing in a way that we just don't have a way to look back and see how much harm or good has been done to us. So it's the same point for smartphone. We've been parents have been a bit lazy with how they deal with their kids on dinner table and all that. So just like stop an iPad in their face so that they can go away. So they're not like not parenting anymore. They're just like, hey, be occupied with this while I'll do my whatever.
While I'm holding on to my smartphone.
Yes. Again, the tool is not the evil. The evil is how it's being used, right? So
Right.
I'm not saying that smartphone is evil. It's obviously give the economy a lot of brand new sector that has never been there before. It's like a major boom to the economy. Yes, but at what cost? There has to be something that we can do to limit the damage that these kind of thing can do to kids. Like I'm not opposed to kids having a smartphone. I'm just wonder whether they should spend 4 hours a day mindless scrolling on their phone. And by the way, I bring up the article not because I want the age limit of 18 before they can use a smartphone. No, I think 18 is a bit much, but it's the same point. I agree with the article in directionally, not like as an absolute.
Right.
And I think the biggest challenge a parents might have with enforcing this kind of thing is that the kid might have a strong case of FOMO, fear of missing out.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
if every single one of their friends is having a smartphone, they're on TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, browsing this new trend or that trend, whatever, it will feel like, oh, am I a hermit? Why am I the only one not knowing what they're talking about? Like, if I'm a parent, what can I do? I can give them a talk like, okay, no, don't worry, they're loser for doing that. You're gonna be, at the end of the day, you're gonna have way more skill. You're gonna have way more real life interaction. You're gonna go out. You're gonna play sport. You're gonna do things that a kid, that a normal person growing up should be doing to cultivate their skill, not to read TikTok for 4 hours a day.
Real
I'm
quick,
not saying you
so
can.
real quick, so side thing on that, like actually in America, like teenage iPhone adoption is somewhere in the 80-90% now. And so that's like one form of social pressure to get on these apps, etc. But you were saying?
So exactly, yeah. So if all your friends are doing it, it's very difficult for a kid to resist that. And
Mm.
resisting peer pressure is going to be extra difficult if you are a person under 18 year old, because this is all you have. Peer pressure is all you have. You don't have to pay bill. You don't have to worry about what you're going to do with the rest of your life and all that. You only worry about your cloud. You don't worry about like what we are doing, and am I doing that? Am I missing out? Am I being the hermit in the group?
Yeah.
And good luck explaining that to them. It's all that I know. I've been there. So the iPhone came out in 2007 when I was 15, and I can totally understand the urge of getting one. And did I, nag my parent into getting one myself? Yes. Did I get it myself? Yes. Did I feel good about it? No. And people are kind of being a brat about it too. I mean, people, I mean, like kids are being kind of a brat about it too. So I don't see it's easy enforcing this to your kid, but I feel like you might have to. And this guy bring up the same thing that I just told you earlier, is that like smartphone has been a very small portion of human history entirely. So we don't have enough time to see how much harm it can do to you yet.
Right.
So the smartphone generation is like still in their like early 30s now. So it's not like you can see the effect in the 40 or 50 years, whether they're gonna be higher and suicide rate, they're gonna have like body image in girls, mostly even boys, but mostly girls. Are they gonna deal with the lack of social skill because they falsely believe that interaction over a smartphone is the same as social interaction? Yeah,
But real quick, actually a lot of like Gen Zs and millennials are going through depression now. So there is some documentation and data about this.
Partly because of that, and partly because they overdiagnose and they overuse the word depression, but that's another issue. But yes, in general, I think they make your mental health go to shit, because they
Right.
obviously whatever you see on Instagram is the highlight, not
Yeah.
not the life. So
Right.
they look at Instagram and say, oh, people are so beautiful, people are doing this and that, and I'm not at the same scenario. So I feel bad. I feel like I'm being left behind. But
Right.
no, their life is shit. They choose to show you one frame of their life where it's decent. And I can tell you, like, sidetrack real quick, I can tell you from personal experience that like when I was still like browsing Tinder a lot, right? And every time I met somebody from Tinder, they are nowhere near close how they portray themselves on Instagram.
Well,
Like
yeah.
it's like it's tradition that they just like put their Instagram handle on their Tinder profile, right? And then you something for you to check out. Oh, hey, they look like they're into this, that. They look like this is their lifestyle. Not even close. Right.
I think we in in our in our deepest conscious, I believe we know that it's fake, but there's something about our dopamine and our competition genes or chemistry in our body that still reacts away when we see someone else portraying like the lifestyle and the first class lifestyle, the Rolex, the nice bags, European bags lifestyle. But go ahead.
It's not, I see that, but I don't think most kids are even there yet. They don't even know that it's fake. I don't think they even know. You have to go through. You have to go through a few times meeting people in real life because they have to. Your first experience comparing them in real life with the versus their online personality.
Right.
Not even close.
Right.
And it's quite disappointing. And I'm not just talking about looks. Of course, the people are gonna portrait themselves the way they look the best on Instagram, right? And then it's not close to real life, which is fair. But it's not just about that. It's just the lives as well. Like, oh, they're posting the picture playing volleyball on the beach around 4 every day, but then in real life they go on, they take one picture and then they go home. They don't even like run on a treadmill before they take a picture.
Right.
But I digress. So it really gives people kids the very false perception of life, and they have an unexpected perception of reality, and especially in like body image and all that. Like a girl seeing other girls online doing this and that, looking a certain way, and they feel like, why I'm not that? Like no, they are themselves not that, and so I'm wondering if this is something that people collectively would decide maybe it's not a good idea to let kids use social media before the age of 16.
Right.
18, I don't mind 18, but I feel like 18 is a little bit pushing it, so 16 is fine.
Right.
So your thought? I mean, you work with a lot more kids than I do, so you probably can see more of this than I do. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a rule here that's like you can't use your smartphone during class time. And if you do, I have a rule where like you have to screen share it and send it to the TV so that everybody sees what you're doing, right? So at least it is actually sociable, right? When you're on social media or something. Um, but going back to the parenting and this parent who wants to set this 18 age limit, um, did you know like these social media executives, they don't even allow their kids to be on their own product,
Uh,
right?
I think Doug himself said the same thing. Yeah, he wouldn't let his kids on Facebook. Yeah,
Right. And so they know why, because they purposely made this to be like a dopamine slot machine, right?
addictive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very addictive. Like, this kind of goes into the science of it. Like the act of scrolling, it's like it basically means like it's tricking your eyes to make you think that you're going to a different location, right? So evolutionary biology meant that when like humans, when we get to the cliff top of a mountain, right, and we look out into the valley or to the horizon, it's it's just like it's just an amazing feeling, like a shot of adrenaline. And I think it's or dopamine, whatever, or and I think it's because like the human body is saying like, good job, you actually went up the mountain, you went past another valley. So it's like a survival mechanism to pump us, to give us motivation to keep going and to keep scourging and running and trying to find new sources of food, resources, water, etc. Right? And so um, these builders, developers, they design these social media feeds or timelines to be in that same exact way. And so they know that it is made to be addicting and is meant to give you small but consistent dopamine that you want to keep continuing to do it. And that's why even parents have these problems, right? Like you said, like the good parent knows how to teach their kids. And when all they do is kind of lazily or maybe in a fair way, too busy to interact directly with the kids, they, pass the parenting and outsource it to an iPad, which
That's
is
the worst part.
right. So I'm not
They're
a
letting
go ahead.
they're letting raise their kids essentially, and that is so just the worst aspect of it that I'm gonna touch on next. But keep going before I go into that.
Right. Um, so the last thing I'll say was like regulation is very late to almost any new technology. And so I don't know about Vietnam, but in America, like Congress is just like the most ignorant group of old people, um, especially when they talk about technology. artificial
Don't
intelligence,
understand.
right? They don't even know. They can barely send an email, you know. And I bet if they send the email, there'll be one of those that write their whole entire message on the subject line, you know, and the body would just be totally blank. But anyways, so yeah, regulation is always late, and so these old people who are running the American government, they're not really well versed and competent in this area. Um, and so yeah, it's very understandable. And technology is meant to be fast paced and iterative, and they're very agile. So you can understand why this is a tortoise and a hare kind of analogy. All right, cool. Yeah, so like I was saying, the regulation is late, but let's just go back to the regulations from the parent. Social media basically is, this is my thinking, is like if you are not making money off of social media, then they're making money off of you. Uh, well, what I mean by that is like like every social media, their cash flow, cash stream, um, their revenue comes basically from all ad revenue, right? So, right, you are being influenced to buy these products or services, and you're basically spending your time, which is the most important commodity that you have, that you're never going to be able to get back. And so I think there's no absolute terms in terms of what that man in the article said. But if I had to pick, generally I would agree, because most adults can't even regulate themselves during, like, if we're talking about just strictly smartphones, right?
Yep.
And so you can just imagine, like, even me, I wasn't enlightened or didn't have the wisdom to understand what social media was until my late 20s, right? Um, Even now,
Fair.
like when I get a like or a comment or a share, it's like, damn, it feels good. I'm not gonna lie, right? And so like once you get enough of it, like at least in the short term, I still like just like check it impulsively. What am I doing, right? Like you have no control of yourself. And so this father, I guess, I think he has a good point, right? Unless the kid is some great savant or some amazing seller or marketer or celebrity like
As
a
long as
KOL.
they
Yeah,
be on social
right.
media.
So if unless the kid is some amazing like promoter, this is part of their job, they need to cut that off immediately. That would be personally what I probably would do if I had a kid, right? Um, and so yeah, I see that point. I think I'm mostly on the side of, you know, maybe even doing a blanket law, right? Where like you have to be 14 to be to have a social media account. I would be in favor of government legislation on this issue, to be frank, at least at a young age, right? Um, Lower teens or something. I think that would do society good. And like it kind of connects to your FOMO point, which is like at least if everybody doesn't have an account until 14, there's nothing to fear and to miss out of. And so I understand the father's thinking, and I would say I generally agree.
And yeah, attention span, communication skill is just like the second worst part of having your kid being on online all the time. The worst part is having the internet raise your kid. So I think I speak for most people when I say that one of the best joy of having one of the most important point of having a kid is to be able to have like another version of yourself that you leave behind, right?
Right.
When you're gone. And
Selfishly, yeah.
no, that is good. You want it to be like evolutionarily. It's the whole point. You have to be selfish about it. So to let it compete.
Right.
and it's the best for the species overall.
Yeah.
You know, I'm on attention here, but like, yeah. So you're not gonna be able to do that if the internet is raising your kid. If the internet is your kid, yeah, every kid is gonna be the same. It's gonna be the same version of what the internet want to be. They're gonna be into a certain thing. They're gonna talk a certain way. They're gonna have a certain mindset that it comes from straight out of like TikTok, whatever. It's gonna be the same, and it's
Right.
never good.
Never.
It's trash.
Yeah.
And do I want my kids to behave like a typical 14-year-old kid on TikTok? Fuck no. So this is the worst social media so far. You don't get to even raise your kid. Your kid is gonna bring up to bring home whatever they learn in quote on social media back home,
Yeah.
and they
Skibbity
lose
toilet.
your
What's that?
yeah, skibbity toilet, whatever. Yeah, and it's not even funny. If it's funny, it's fine. It's not even funny. It's not even good. Like,
Yeah.
some trash meme are pretty good. Like, I can see why it's popular, but yeah, you see what I mean.
Right.
And do you really want to spend all that hard work to have a kid and to raise him or her to a certain age to have him or her be the exact same kid as everybody's kid?
Right.
No, you don't want that. And why you want that? You want your kid to be an extension of yourself, right? You want more of you, not I mean, if you're Hitler, then I guess you may want less of you, but like if you believe you're
Hitler
awesome,
would disagree.
I mean, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, you should probably cut out that part. It's really bad. Yeah, but yeah, my point is like,
I think the
if
world
you
wouldn't
believe,
want other Hitlers. Okay.
yeah, if you believe you're awesome, if you believe that there should be more of you in the world, then do your best to produce more of you, not just biologically, but like in the mind as well. Okay? You don't want to be this and have a kid that is that, you know. And people are not doing that because like the alternative is so easy. I suck an iPad in their face and then they're silent and all that. That's a lazy way of parenting. Don't do that. And also the problem with like trying to ban social media for kids is like the most difficult part is that the Pandora box is already open. It's kind of very hard to close that. So if we're starting out doing that, so let's say when Facebook was invented in 2004, right? Or 7 actually, yeah. When it became popular, when it reached but if we did that from the beginning, then nobody would know what they missed. Like kids don't miss out that much because they already starting out not being able to use that before they turn 16 or whatever age it is. Right. But now they have been able to use that for such a long time, it becomes the default, the right. default expectation. And suddenly you cut it out, it's gonna not gonna go well. And like if you do it cold turkey, it's gonna have the exact same effect of the what's it called the side strand effect, right? So you ban it and you make it become more a novelty. You make it become cool to go around the wall to use it. I wonder like if straighting up banning it will make it worse, even worse because of the side strand effect. I wonder if that's the case, but we'll see what happens. But to be fair, all right, if we argue something, we have to bring up the other side of the argument as well. The other side of the argument is that there are certain benefit to let kids use social media as an early age as well. So kids are noticeably faster with technology, faster with learning things. They So back in our day, I doubt that there will be any random like 16 or 18-year-old making a bunch of money from from anything new that are coming up. It's very extremely rare. But now happens like way more often. So a small section of young kids are able to leverage the field to make money for themselves very successfully. But at the expense of other gets been addicted. But yeah, sure, yeah. But see, it moved the well-being from the 99% of all people to the 1% of the kids who can leverage that to make something out themselves. It's a very small portion, but it does happen. Right. It really shows how smart some people can be if they cultivate it correctly. And to reach your point on social media, you are either a producer or a consumer. Right. If you happen to land on the producer's square, you will do very well. But you land on the consumer, the consumer square, right. It's all go down Good for you.
Right.
You got addicted. You got the depressed. You have body issue, especially with young girls and all that. And at the end of the day, you become like a fat nerd on your couch. Once you become old age.
Body dysphoria is actually growing within males too. But continue.
Yeah, I think body dysphoria is a term. Yeah. So they look at people online and they falsely perceive that it's the average. No, it's not the average. And you should, yeah, you can strive for that, but you don't expect to all look like that. It's kind of nuts. Even boys as well, but like girls, way more often for girls to experience that the issue with social media use. Like again, like I can't speak for everyone, but like back in my Tinder day, I've never met a single person who don't degrade by like 82% or more when you meet them in real life. You compare them with this social media counterpart.
Right.
So disappointed.
Right.
And yeah, and that's all I have on this one. I just wish that people are more, especially in Asia, like nobody is talking about the harm of social media in Asian media that I know of. Like people only complain about, oh, kids are being on TikTok too much, kids are using too much social media. Yeah, only in the Western media, like we were talking about banning TikTok and all that. But in Vietnam, I don't notice anybody talking about that at all because they so view that as a commodity, as a convenience, and they don't really. Um. Okay. One last time. To be fair, it does some good to some people. Yes,
Right.
it does harm to many people as well. I guess it's fair to say that it's too soon for me to conclude whether the net outcome is negative or positive. But if I had to guess, I'm guessing the net outcome is negative to people in general.
Right.
The people who were able to extract this internet period into something good for themselves to become extremely successful out of that, that people like that are still going to be successful regardless whether it's a thing or not. So they have the hustle mindset. You're gonna make it work, whether they're social media or not. They're gonna make it some other way. So it's about how it's something within themselves, not necessarily triggered by social media per se. So I tend to believe that the next 2 or 3 generations might be better off if we have some sort of regulation on social media, either from the legal perspective or from the parental point of view. If the state doesn't enforce them and doesn't enforce social media company to make themselves 16 plus or whatever, then the parent is going to fall in the parent's hand to make that a thing and not let the kids use social media when they were too young. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say on this topic.
Right. And just
And
go ahead. Right. All right. So I'll just wrap it up. I just like, of course, you have those small minority that makes money, and I would say like, be honest with yourself. If you are making money, if you think you're making money off of social media, TikTok, Facebook, then show me the cash flow, right? At least show me $1, 1 iota of proof, right? And if you do, then hey, you need that's a good you found a little bit of oil or a little bit of gold. So keep working with that. But just
yeah,
speaking, yeah, just speaking of teens, you know what's funny? The other day I saw a lot of teens being pulled over uh, on New England Street, which is like the biggest street in District 7 here, from the cops,
I know.
right? And I think they're cracking down, making sure that people on the street have IDs or not. And so, yeah, it's kind of similar to social media. Like if we yank it away from them, like these kids, they've been used to riding motorbikes and taking their classmates to school every day, Um,
Yeah.
they're just yanking away, and I think it's a net positive. And you might have some small discomfort, but you'll do well. But anyway, speaking of comfort and an extension of another person, we'll go into the last thing on the docket, which is this person has a story that his friend has been getting calls and messages, mainly text messages, I guess, during the late night.
Oh boy.
and the boss is, he got really triggered, and because this person, I guess, put his phone on silent, and then the next day saw a bunch of messages from his boss, and the boss took that as him ignoring the boss's inquiries and messages. And this may lead to the boss firing this person. And so the gist of this, both sides, is like whether you have, I forgot what it's called in America, where you have like a set time shift that you can message your employees, right? I think that's a right to chill, right to be undisturbed after work. Um, but it seems like yeah, this person feels like it's unfair. Um, and so there's a lot of pressure that goes on with this. What I say, like in general, right? Like we talked about this on the other episode. Uh,
Yeah. A little bit about job
right,
responsibility. They
right,
can harass you. Yeah.
right. So this all comes down into context, right? I think if the person really cares about this job and sees a future, right? Um, I think it would be good for him to generally be on call, right? Um, if you willing to show the boss that you care, like case in point, my sister got a promotion a few months ago, and one of the main things that was under her employment review was that the boss really appreciated that she was on scheduled leave, vacation, right? And the boss had a hot issue that had critical priority. And my sister took the time to get to work and put out the fire, so to speak. And the boss really appreciated that. And then that was like the main positive that was at her employment review, right? But on the flip side, this is not generally most of the this is not the case for most people, right? When people work at a company, they're merely just another faceless employee, worker, staff. And a lot of times these managers or boss will take advantage of this, right? And try to get them on call to get to do overtime without getting paid, getting to do work after hours, right? Tell them to do things outside the scope and responsibility under their job description, right? And so, yeah, I would say generally, right? I think the bosses, I would say there's no such thing as wrong, but if I was the employee, I wouldn't do it generally, right? Um, but like I mentioned this on the last episode or two ago, was that if I'm the employee, if I have that growth mindset sort of thought, like thinking process, I would just do it for myself, right? Do the extra work, do the hard stuff, like purposely learn something or be outside of my shell, right? Uh, Last thing I'll say was like this quick example. Like I used to be at an international school, and the school was either too cheap or they thought we were lazy or whatever. They made us do a textbook from scratch, and they didn't give the head teacher the editor position or the editor shit basically on their head. They gave it to me because they knew like my personality type about getting things done and being meticulous and detail oriented, right? And at first I was like, man, this is absolute bullshit. This is irresponsible. But basically I had no choice. But I thought to myself, if I'm doing this already, I might as well learn how to do it. I might as well grind through it. And once I went through it, you know, it was a lot of headache, but at least I learned some new skills and I became toughened by it. And I even put in a little extra effort after I thought like, okay, I went through that friction, but now I'm rolling. And so I learned how to do different fonts, different transitions, things of that nature that helped me later on that I saw like in the future, okay, that time period is actually a good thing because I didn't just like moan and grind about it all the time. But yeah, like just taking, I guess like most people cases would be like the employee. Um, they put things on their shoulder that they shouldn't, but you know, if you have no choice, at least have the perspective of like, hey, I'm going through something hard. It's suffering. I might as well make the best of use of it. And so, yeah, that's the mindset thought, you know. But
Sounds like you're on your side on for this kind of thing.
the what side?
Sounds like you're on the employer side for this kind of thing.
No. So let me make my point clear. If I was the employee, I would take it as a challenge, right?
Okay.
But on his face, objectively, from a person's point of view, a third party arbiter, the boss is in the wrong, point blank, right? But that's what I'm saying. Like, last small point. It's like if you're black, right? All right. If you're a black person, you can claim racism. Absolutely. Are there racist people? Are there some forms of racial subjugation or even gender inequalities in different parts? Of course, there are, right?
Can you claim racism there? Really?
Yeah, you can claim, you know, I mean, I claim ballism, whatever, right? Whatever, you know, because I don't have hair. People look at me and okay, so now what, right? I can't change this. It's my gene, my DNA. But it's just like if you have that disadvantage and you're able to go through it, pass it, I think you would beat everyone else, including the people who have hair. And so that's
Yeah. Okay. I think you brought a little bit too much of a personal experience into this story. I think this story is very require more of an objective look. And to me, the story lack major context.
absolutely.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
So at the end of the day, employer and employee relationship are purely a transactional relationship. The same one that we talked about like 2 episodes ago is purely transactional. So it's very important for me to know that whether it is contractual that this employee are required to respond after 11 p.m. So
I think
first,
most likely no.
yeah, if
I mean,
no,
have you ever heard of a clause like that? I've never.
sometimes they can put something like that on the contract. Yeah,
No,
something
in Vietnam they could do that. Holy crap! Like in a positive way, not in
yeah, of
a
course.
it's not mentioned. It's actually in there that says you're on call
You
24/7.
you don't have to agree to it, but it
Mm.
can be put on a contract beforehand.
Mm.
Yeah. They're not gonna say something like 24/7, but they will say like okay, we sometimes may require the employee to answer or to support like overtime, meaning if the server like went down at 2 a.m., then they might call you to fix it, but they won't necessarily pay extra for that. It's just like the part of the job where, all right, you don't know when things are going to shit, when it requires some maintenance to keep the site up, things like that,
Mm.
right? But we don't know whether it's going to happen or not. It might never happen, but if it does happen, you don't know when. So it's just like a safety clause to make sure that, all right, you are entitled to the employee support if it happens, but you won't necessarily get extra pay for that. So you can say beforehand, and an employee can choose to agree or not agree with that, and they'll talk about it with the compensation package and all that. So they can't put it on the contract.
Wow.
However, most of the time they
Yeah.
don't. They
Yeah.
don't put it in the contract, and they make that something that actually between mouth to mouth, and that's like an oral agreement without a contractual agreement.
It's like it's
So hey,
something we know that it's there, but it's not actually explicitly stated or communicated.
yeah, and that's most of the case.
Right.
So to be fair, I think it's most of the case. So people
Right.
don't put it on the contract. It's just like an oral agreement and all that. Just like a unspoken rule. All right,
Exactly. That's the what it
if
is. Yep.
Yeah, if thing goes down and you're the only one who can fix it, and it's 2 a.m., yeah, I mean, the employee will expect that you to pick up the call and fix that. And honestly, if you're an employee in that situation, you're the only one responsible and are capable of fixing that at 2 a.m. Yeah, I think you so should. It's at the end of it is a responsibility, right? However, I don't want to make that the default state of behavior for all employer. I don't want it to be the default state. So I think this story is told from the perspective of the employee's friends. So I doubt that the language choice is going to be very impartial. It's going to be very biased toward his friends, the employees. Yeah, at the end of the day, it's a contractual agreement. Whether you want to do it or not, it's up to you. But also I agree with your sentiment that view that as a challenge is a better mindset than viewing it as a point of complaint. It's true. You just want to make sure that you balance between viewing challenges as a challenge, as a chance to help you grow and learn more skill, versus not letting your employer abuse you,
Yeah, of course. Protect yourself all
unfairly.
the time, right?
Yeah. So if you're not getting paid extra and they make that the default, they will rely on that a lot.
Yep.
Then there you have two options. Either talk to your employer, hey, I'm okay to support sometimes, but if it is a regular thing, you call me after 8 p.m., it's not okay. All right. Or either that, or you make them put it in writing and you get extra compensation for that. There's a two way to
Basically,
go.
set boundaries.
Set boundary, yes. So how much you okay with that extra pay? Or if it happens so much and you require extra compensation for that, yeah, go for it. But all right, the contractual nature of it is very difficult for me to understand why people complain that much. So if you can talk to your boss about it and get him to back off or get him to pay you, then you wouldn't have to complain, right? The reason you're not doing any of that, you're not either complaining or either ask for extra compensation and you just complain online, shows me that you don't really have the leverage in the situation. Meaning your employer is more valuable to you than you are valuable to them. Meaning you are more replaceable than your employer is. Meaning, if you quit tomorrow, your employer can find somebody to do your job tomorrow. But you might struggle at finding the same job. That's the just I'm getting out. Again, I'm not saying it's fair or right. I'm just saying it's the nature of the this kind of thing. If the employee had the option to ask for more compensation or to leave for a better job or to ask for the employer to back off, they would not have to complain to their friends like that. I mean, I don't exclude myself from the equation. So every time I complain without doing anything about it, I know in the back of my mind that it's because I don't have leverage here. It means I know in the back of my mind that all right, I'm more replaceable than my employer at this moment. That's why I'm complaining instead of doing something about it. So I don't fault this guy for this. I just think all right, it just seems like a passive aggressive thing to complain online about this kind of thing. It's not gonna help. And it's just fun to read about, to know what people are going through. And honestly,
Yeah, do you think this is a common instance in Vietnam?
in my personal experience, at least in the IT sector,
Yep,
it's very extremely common because like I bet this person working in IT as well. Like there's no profession where it's required to. I mean, maybe not. Like in the story, it's about report and it's being they want it to be done the right way, right? But in IT, it's more common the way that all right, so you maintain a website or a service or a software as a service SaaS platform, and you want it to be running 24/7 with zero downtime. You can't predict when it's going to go down, but when it goes down, you need the person in charge to be available pretty much 24/7 to make sure that the thing are always online. So sometimes people get a call at 2 a.m. Sometimes it happens, and they are instructed to leave their phone always not in silent.
Right.
Even on vacation, on tech holiday, they still make sure their phone is on. So if somebody call and the computer is next to them, so they can do some quick troubleshooting to make sure the site is up online within 5 minutes of spotting the 404. And However, yeah, most of the time I don't notice them getting any extra compensation for that. That I know of. They just get like a praise on Monday, the Monday weekly meeting, maybe like a voucher for like Pizza Hut or whatever, maybe a pizza party in the afternoon.
Right.
It's very
Starbucks.
rare that they get extra compensation for that, and if they
Gift,
do,
a
good
gift
for them.
card. Yeah.
Gift card, yeah. Someone not really a gift card. Someone just maybe yeah, you get an extra buy the pizza party. It's very and the reason the employee can get away with that so much is because they use the carrot and the stick method there. Okay, yeah, if you do this, your next performance review, which is 9 months away, it's gonna be very good. We're gonna be really appreciated of you for doing this. So they hang the carrots and without and bro, 9 months like a lifetime away. You don't even know whether you're gonna work at the company in not 9 months, and people jump job like a lot in IT. So okay, that's a very shit carrot to chase. If you think I'm worth it, pay me now. Why wait 9 months where I don't even
Agree.
say working? Yeah. And when 9 months come, they come up with some bullshit to make sure that it cancel out whatever achievement that you may have with the troubleshooting at 2 a.m. and all that. So to me, all this story is telling me is that this person's friend know that they don't have leverage in the situation, though they cannot tell the boss to back off. They cannot tell the boss to pay more. They don't have leverage to set boundaries, so they just accept it, and now they just complain anonymously instead. You see, it's not even like this guy not even telling his story. He's telling his friend's story. Yeah, friend, sure, yeah. Protect his identity much here.
Of course.
And I don't see it's going to change anytime soon in any society, in any circumstances, unless you have leverage to negotiate with your boss. Otherwise, if you're replaceable, is how it's going to be, honestly. And I think most people are very replaceable. Have you ever had the sidetrack a little bit, like a little bit of sidetrack? Have you ever had the experience working a corporate job where, because I had a lot where I work at a corporate job, like, right, and I have like this very awesome like coworker. Oh my god, that guy is a team leader. He lead 12 people, super like competent, awesome. Oh my god, if he quit tomorrow or he'll be like on vacation, if he doesn't work anymore, it's gonna be like trash. Everything is gonna go shit in the next life. And then he quits, and then nothing happens. Happens a lot. And to me, it's that.
Okay. You mean he's
And to
replaceable?
me, yeah.
Okay.
To me, it's like everybody is replaceable, even the one that you think like irreplaceable in the massive scale. I mean, especially when it comes to large corporation. If you're talking about like a small company of like 10 people, then yeah, some people can be actually irreplaceable. But in most corporation where let's say you have more than 200 people or more, I doubt that anybody is truly replaceable. You can be replaced just about any day if you cause too much trouble for the employer. So don't be too don't be too delusional about how replaceable you are. You may come in negotiation thinking you are the shit, but maybe you're just not. And personally, I've never reached a level where I even feel like I'm irreplaceable, but I've seen people who to me they look irreplaceable until they're not. And it's not like, okay, he quit, it's been a month, nothing changes, everything is fine, nothing happens. So yeah, you're gonna have to be a little bit down to earth and a little bit anchored to the ground about whether you are replaceable or not. But I mean, if you're wondering whether you're replaceable or not, you're probably not, because most people who are sure they are not replaceable, they are replaceable. And so yeah, that's all I have to say about this one. And another one about people complaining about the drama online to a newspaper. It happens a lot in Vietnam.
Yeah, I think we can take. Yeah, I think we can take a lot from this. We can internalize it into our own specific personal cases. Specifically, I've never thought anyone in a corporation was irreplaceable, at least on my level, of course. Like if I look at the CEO, CFO, all these C-suites guy, of course they're irreplaceable, right? But just going from like your own personal cocoon, like your your own little world. I think at least if you internalize that you are irreplaceable, which means like you are certain, like you don't have imposter syndrome, right? If you have imposter syndrome, it's over. You got no shot, right? You're either quietly quitting or you're always on eggshells, uh, worrying about the next layoff, rounds of layoff, and another rift that the industry will just announce, right? So I think personal advice is like I think you should always build yourself up, even in a corporate structure, to be irreplaceable, right? I always think about that. Yep. I always think about that for myself, right? Like in a more extreme way. So I always think like, okay, if I died today, will anybody miss me? Right? Of course, families and close friends, right, will miss me as a
That's
person.
a little bit much, but yeah, go
Right.
ahead.
Yeah, I know. Whereas I'm a all in type of guy. But uh extrapolate that to your job or
Yeah.
extrapolate that to your business, right? So in if you were to die tomorrow and you were, I don't want to say bad, but an accountant, right? If you were an accountant and then you died tomorrow, you just were just basically counting beans, right? And they can find another bean counter, or they'll find another software, and even very in the near future, it'll be an AI that does it, right? But if you extrapolate that to even bigger, it's like if you are a small business and you're doing nothing to have a unique selling point or an IP or a business moat, right? And or you don't have any good customer relation, right? If your business was to die today, would anybody miss your business, or would they just jump over to the guy across the street, right? So that's another way of thinking, like in terms of like day to day. Like, are you doing something that someone will miss, truly miss, if you were gone tomorrow, right? Um, but you know what? Yeah, I guess yeah, I guess that's the code or my train of thought that I go through most of my days. And just to wrap it up, like yeah, I guess like for this guy who's getting blasted messages about his boss at night, I think he would, I think, man, he's just in the right, to be frankly honest, like it's a report. Like we're not talking about a burning
Building.
house, a burning building, a
Yeah.
burning house, right? Literally or figuratively, or like in your case, like a down server, right? It's a damn report. Like, it's not it's not a report. Like if the
All
report
right.
is late.
We, a lot
No, go
of
ahead.
bosses, a lot of bosses have like this complex. It's like a superiority complex where they power tripping every time they get like when they get into especially like newly people who are just newly become boss,
Right.
they do tripping quite a lot. They enjoy the power. Okay, do I have any reason to shit on this guy? But do I want to? Yeah, it felt good. I want to do this. It felt powerful. I bet a lot of people are doing that. Not all,
Right.
but like it's just fucking damn report. Like is the work gonna end if you do like 8 in the morning tomorrow instead of 11 p.m. Today? I mean, it's more of a power trip than anything. It's like new cops, kind of like that.
Yeah.
But I digress. I don't want to insult cops.
Cool one. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening. We'll catch you later.